So I've just showed you a few ways in which you can support your stock, and now it's time to actually get the raw stock and the dovetail stock into position for machining. What you've got here with these soft jaws is an OK Vise assembly there and the locator assembly, both fixed in position. So you want to keep those ready for machining because that's where they're going to be. So you actually want to create a new locator assembly and a new OK Vise assembly for holding your stock, because they're going to be in a slightly different position. But as I've explained throughout my videos, the problem with Fusion and what's really frustrating about Fusion is that when you create a joint on a component, if you copy that component, the joint will be copied with it. So when you move something, the other component that you've copied will move with it. It's really frustrating. There is a way of getting around that, which is to copy the body within a component. So say for instance, if I went within this OK Vise plate, I can copy this body and then I'd paste it into a new component, and then I'll be able to form a joint with that body. But within this OK Vise assembly, you see I've got lots of different components, so I'd have to individually copy those bodies and then rename them and so on, and it'd be very frustrating. So the best thing to do in this case is to actually drag the timeline marker back before the joints, and like I did with the rack in a previous video where I copied it before it got any joints on it, I'm going to copy both of these assemblies. So I'm just going to Control C, Control V. You see again a new assembly, Mark 2 at the bottom. I should have actually moved that, so I'm going to press Control V and do it again. Control Z, sorry, and do it again. So Control C, Control V, and then I'm just going to move it backwards. There we go, and I'm going to do the same for this OK Vise assembly. So Control C, Control V. Just move out, move it backwards, like so. So the second one on all of these is behind the copied one. It's always behind the first one. So it helps you visually understand what you're doing. Then I'm going to roll the timeline forward. So you'll see when I've done that, my computer seems to actually just be frozen for a second. There we go. Right, so what we've got is the component, and you'll see the downstream machining that we did for the soft jaw is actually also on these copied components. If you copied the bodies like I explained earlier, then you wouldn't get that. But when you copy the components, it appears that downstream changes happen to both the parent and the child. So the thing that you copied from, so in this case the OK Vise assembly and the locator assembly, whatever you copied from those components has the same cutout in it. So any features you do downstream, even though you copied them before, seem to copy through onto those components. So the beauty of this though is that those joints do not apply to the copied version, so I can move these wherever I want. So I'm going to hide the OK Vise assembly and minimize that. I'm going to hide the locator assembly because they'll be used in our in the manufacturing workspace to obviously machine those jaws, but then after we've done that we don't want to use them. So I've hidden those. I can hide these two racks, but first what I want to do is go back again and make a third rack and a fourth rack. So I'm going to take the original rack there. What I should have done is copied this rack within this. So what you do is you select that, and then the copies will appear under this, whereas that first one I did was a mistake. It actually appeared at the bottom. So now I've got this selected, you'll see. I hit Control C, Control V, move it back, hit OK, and then Control C, Control V again, and move it back behind the third one. So they're still numbered 3 and 4, so you can see that number 2 is down here, so it's still fairly easy to distinguish which one's which. go back up into my fixture plate setup, and I'm going to position these two racks for my new OK Vise assemblies. So that one and that one. Oh, sorry, I've not moved downstream, so I need to move my history back down. Give it a moment to load. So there they go, those two that are visible there. I'm going to hide the two initial racks as well, so I'm going to hide that rack and that rack so they're no longer on the plate. But to find out again where to position these, I need to do a sketch, or in this particular case I can use the sketch that I created earlier for the stock outline. And again, I'm just going to use it as I did earlier to position the locator component and the OK Vise component in position. So create another joint, rigid joint it'll be. I'm going to grab this edge here. I'm going to hide that sketch quickly. Rotate it around again. There, and then another one on this side. I could really use the racks that I placed earlier, but just doing this for illustration purposes. Right click, repeat joint. Which arm did I select there? That one, so I need to be on this edge. Do that. Click OK. And then we're ready to place the OK Vise assembly and the locator assembly. Alright, so I'll bring that sketch up. We want the part is going to sit on that edge there, so we want to line that edge up with this edge here, or get it as close as possible. So again, a joint. As before, select the back edge. And I think I'll go with that tooth there, so hide this sketch. We'll see how, make that sketch visible again. Okay, we'll see how that comes up. Yeah, so it's reasonably close. We probably could actually go one tooth back, so I'll just edit that joint. Hide the fixture plate so it's visible. Get rid of those two edges. Instead go for that one there. Yeah, okay. And that looks like it lines up pretty well with that edge. And then what we're going to do is to create a construction plane on this face, so the face on which the stock will sit, and create a sketch. So the sketch will appear just there. And we're going to draw another box exactly to the size of the stock. So I can't actually remember the directions. There's the dimensions, sorry. So I'll bring up the raw stock. And it is, if you click that line, you should see your dimension down there. So 18.25. By 29.3. I should actually remember that, but cancel. Set this line here. 29.3. So that gives us our box. I'm going to hide that stock again. I'm also going to hide this base plate just to get it out of the way and all the screws and so on. I'm going to hide sketch 1. So what I want to do is line this up. Now, you can line it up in lots of different ways. What I actually like to do is just line up the edge of the stock with one of the notches, because then it just makes it visually really easy to do. You just look down from above and you just line it up like that. Everyone will have their personal preferences. That's just my way of doing things. So I'll project that edge like so. Then I'll also project that edge, like so. I'll select coincident, and that coincident to that, and that coincident to that. So that is the stock positioned. And sorry, the bounding box for the stock ready to position it. We'll bring up the stock itself. Then what I'm going to do is just select this bottom corner. And select that corner there. Hit OK. And there you've got the stock in position. What we want to do now is to